Hello everyone, welcome to this video lecture of Engineering Hydrology. This is Sukamal Ghosh, Assistant Professor, Civil Engineering Department, Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management, JIS Group. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about the transpiration and the basics of evapotranspiration. Now, before going into the detailed discussion about transpiration or evapotranspiration, we will discuss the remaining part of evaporation. Now, in the last two video lecture, we have discussed that what is the evaporation process, what are the factors that can affect evaporation, and how we can measure the evaporation. Now, we should also know that what are the measures to reduce the evaporation. Basically, there are three measures to reduce or decrease the rate of evaporation. The first one is reduction in surface area. Okay. The second one is the mechanical cover, and the third and most important is use of chemical films. Okay. So now we will discuss one by one. Okay. Now, if you recall our second last video lecture where we discussed that how the various factors affect the evaporation or rate of evaporation. In that video lecture, we have discussed that how with the increase in surface area, the rate of evaporation also increases. It means if the surface area of a water body increases, then the evaporation rate also increases. So, see, we know that surface area of a water body is directly proportional to the rate of evaporation. Right? So, we know this relation from our past video lectures. So, from this relation, we can say that if we reduce the surface area of a water body, then the rate of evaporation will also decrease, right? Because they are directly proportional to each other. So, if we decrease the surface area, then also the rate of evaporation will also decrease or reduced. Okay. So, how can we reduce the surface area of a water body? Suppose we have a dam. Okay. This is a dam. And we have stored, suppose, a certain volume of water. Okay. And the height of this water table from the ground level or the base level of dam is maybe h. Okay. And the volume of water, the volume of this water is v. Okay. And the surface area of the water body is suppose a. Okay. This is the surface area of the water body. Now, if you want to keep the volume of water constant but reduce the surface area, then what can we do? The only way here is to increase the depth of dam or the height of dam. So, if you increase, if we increase the height of the dam, then the surface area will be reduced. Okay. And our volume will also be constant. Okay. So, the measures like having deep reservoir in place of wider one can eliminate the higher rate of evaporation losses. Okay. So, wherever it is possible we can reduce the surface area of a water body, okay, so that the evaporation loss can be reduced. At the same time, we also keep in mind the economical aspect also, because if it not economical to increase the height or depth of a reservoir or dam, then it is not feasible to increase the depth of the dam. Okay, so now our second method to reduce the rate of evaporation is mechanical covers. Okay, some mechanical covers such as permanent roof over the reservoir, then the temporary roofs and the floating roofs such as rafts and lightweight floating particles can be used over small water bodies, okay, whenever feasible, to reduce the rate of evaporation. Okay, but here is the limitation. We can use this mechanical covers only if the water body is small, because it is not feasible to provide this kind of permanent roofs or temporary roofs or any kind of this mechanical covers over a large water body such as river. Okay, so this kind of mechanical covers can be only used for very small water bodies. Okay, now the third and most important method to reduce the rate of evaporation or the water loss due to evaporation is use of chemical film. The use of chemical film is currently the one and only feasible method available for the reduction of water loss due to evaporation for reservoir or a moderate size of water body. Okay, this method is consist of applying a thin chemical film on the water surface to reduce the rate of evaporation. Certain chemicals such as cetyl alcohol, which is also known as hexadecanol, and stearyl alcohol, which is also known as octadecanol, forms monomolecular layers on the water surface. These layers acts as a evaporation inhibitors by preventing the water molecules to escape past them. Okay, now this cetyl alcohol or hexadecanol is found to be the most suitable chemical for use as an evaporation inhibitors. Okay, it can be applied to the water surface in the form of powder, emulsion or solution in the mineral turpentine. Okay, now the controlled experiments means in the lab with the evaporation pan have indicated an evaporation reduction about 60% can be achieved by using this cetyl alcohol or this hexadecanol. Okay, but under the field condition, the reported value of reduction of evaporation is in the range of 20% to 50%. Okay, now so these chemical films have some characteristics. These chemical films are so strong and flexible. Actually, these films are so strong that it doesn't get break easily due to the wave action, and even if it get breaked or punctured due to the impact of raindrop or birds or insect, the film closes back soon after. It means this kind of chemical films have self-repairing capability. See, self-repairing capability. Okay. Apart from that, it allows the free circulation of oxygen and carbon dioxide. That is why the water quality is not affected even if it is present in the water body. And also these films are colorless, odorless and non-toxic. So we can easily use the water from the water body where these chemical films are applied, and still we will not be affected by these chemicals. Okay. Now So this is the end of the discussion about evaporation. Now we will discuss about transpiration and evapotranspiration, and we will also discuss that how this evaporation is related with transpiration and evapotranspiration. Okay. So what is this transpiration process? If you recall our discussion on hydrologic cycle, in that particular video we have discussed how the plant roots absorb water from the soil, and from that absorbed water some amount of water sent back into the atmosphere by the plant through leaves, right? We have discussed that how at the time of photosynthesis through the stomata of the leaves some amount of that absorbed water is sent back into the atmosphere. That particular process is nothing but the transpiration. Okay, you can see here, you can consider this figure or this figure, both figure are same, but in the both figure you can see that the roots of the plants absorb water. Okay, see in this figure also and in this figure also, the roots of the plants absorbing water. Okay, now through the veins of the plant the water is carrying into the leaves. Okay, you can see the water is carrying by the vein, and the water reaches into the leaves. Okay, now by the sunlight the water from the leaves evaporates, okay, at the time of photosynthesis. This whole process is actually known as transpiration process. Okay, so transpiration is the process by which water leaves the body of a living plant at the time of photosynthesis and reaches to the atmosphere as water vapor. Okay, now there may be a confusion that in the evaporation process and in the transpiration process the water reaches to the atmosphere as vapor, but it doesn't mean that transpiration and evaporation are the same process. They have some major differences. We will discuss it later, but for the time being just know that transpiration and evaporation are two different processes. Yes, it is very difficult to measure this transpiration and evaporation individually, but still this transpiration and evaporation are different process. Okay, we will discuss it later that what are the difference between transpiration and evaporation, but for the time being just know that these two processes are different. Okay, so transpiration is the process by which water leaves the body of a living plant and reaches to the atmosphere as water vapor. Okay, now so there are certain factors which affect this transpiration process. Okay, see, we have just discussed that how in the transpiration process also water loss, or you can say water reaches to the atmosphere as water vapor, just like evaporation process. Okay, so certain factors which affect the evaporation process also affect the transpiration process, such as atmospheric vapor pressure. Okay, we know how this atmospheric vapor pressure affect the evaporation, right? In the same way, this atmospheric vapor pressure, this temperature and the wind affect the transpiration process. Okay, so these three factors, this atmospheric vapor pressure, this temperature and the wind, affect the transpiration and the evaporation process also. Now apart from that, the light density also affect the transpiration. Okay, see, we know this transpiration process occurs at the time of photosynthesis, right? And photosynthesis happens only at daylight, right? Without sunlight photosynthesis cannot happen, we know from the school level biology, right? So this light density is also very important for the transpiration process, or you can say this light density is affect the transpiration in a significant way. Okay, Now apart from that, the characteristics of plant like roots, leaf systems, actually these characteristics like root, leaf system, this also affect the photosynthesis, okay, and the factors which affect the photosynthesis also affect this transpiration process, okay. This is a common thing. Now there is an important note that the transpiration is measured by phytometer, okay. An instrument called phytometer is used to measure the transpiration, okay. Though it is very difficult to measure transpiration and this evaporation individually, but still if you want to measure this transpiration, you can use this phytometer instrument, okay. Now we are going to discuss about transpiration ratio, okay. This transpiration ratio is very important in irrigation engineering also. But how? Let's see. The transpiration ratio is the ratio of mass of water transpired by the plant to the mass of dry matter produced by the plant, okay. It means it is the ratio of the mass of water transpired by the plant during its full growth to the mass of dry matter produced by a plant during its full growth, okay. See, this is the expression for transpiration ratio, okay. Now from this expression you may observe that the mass of water transpired by the plant is directly proportional to the transpiration ratio. It means if the mass of water transpired by the plant is higher, then the transpiration ratio is also higher. And the mass of the water transpired by the plant is higher, then the water requirement of a crop will also be higher. So if the transpiration ratio is higher, then the water requirement of crop will also be higher. So we can say this transpiration ratio is directly proportional to the water requirement of crop, okay. And if the water requirement of crop is higher, then we need to store more amount of water in the reservoir. That is why I said that transpiration ratio is very important in irrigation engineering, okay. Now the transpiration ratio is different for different kind of crops, okay. For wheat, the transpiration ratio is 300 to 600, okay. And for rice, this transpiration ratio is 600 to 800, okay. Now, so as I discussed earlier, the evaporation process and transpiration process are different. Though in both the process, the water lost into the atmosphere, or you can say water reaches into the atmosphere as vapor, but still this evaporation and transpiration process have some major difference, okay. The transpiration process is essentially confined to the daylight hours, okay. It is so obvious, right? Because the transpiration process occurs at the time of photosynthesis, right? And photosynthesis need the sunlight or daylight, and we all know photosynthesis happens only at the daylight hours. That is why transpiration process is confined to the daylight hours, okay. And also the rate of transpiration depends upon the growth period of plant, okay. But on the other hand, evaporation continues all through day and night, unlike the transpiration process, okay. So evaporation can occur at the daytime and also at the night time, but transpiration cannot occur at night time, because the commencement of this photosynthesis process, plant need daylight, right? So these are the major difference between evaporation and transpiration, okay. Now we are going to discuss about evapotranspiration. So what is this evapotranspiration? See, While the transpiration process takes place, a land area in which the vegetation growth is taking place also lose moisture by the evaporation from the soil and water bodies. Okay, it means in a land area where the vegetation growth is taking place, or in an area where the plants stand, the transpiration process and the evaporation process occur simultaneously. Okay, that is why it is very difficult and not feasible to measure or calculate or estimate the evaporation process and the transpiration process individually. And it is advantageous to calculate or estimate this evaporation process and this transpiration process, combinedly. Okay, that is why in hydrology and irrigation it is found that evaporation and transpiration process can be considered advantageously under one head, that is evapotranspiration. Okay, so if you add these two terms, this evaporation and this transpiration, you will have evapotranspiration. Okay, so the main concept is that while transpiration takes place, a land area in which the plants stand, okay, or any vegetation stands, also lose some water by the evaporation from the soil and the water bodies. Okay, that is why it is not possible, or you can say it is not feasible to measure or calculate the evaporation and transpiration individually. That is why we combined it together and measure it and named it as evapotranspiration. Okay, let me draw a figure for you so that you can understand it in a better way. Okay, suppose this is our ground level. Okay, this is our land area where vegetation growth is taking place. Okay, now this is our ground level. Maybe this is a water body, this is a water body, right? And we have some plants, these are some plants. Okay, and maybe here are some grasses. Okay, so these are plants or vegetations and these are the grasses. Okay, grass. Now from these plants and these grasses the transpiration process takes place, right? So water loses from these leaves of the plants by transpiration process, right? And also from these grasses okay, so from these plants and these grasses the water is lost to the atmosphere by transpiration process, right? Now also from this water body and the soil the water lost due to evaporation. See, from this water body the water is lost due to evaporation, right? And from the soil also some amount of water lost due to evaporation. Okay, so you can observe in this particular figure that the transpiration and the evaporation is occurring together. And since this transpiration process and this evaporation process involves to loss of water into the atmosphere as vapor, it is very difficult to measure this transpiration and evaporation individually, because both, in this both process the loss of water occurs as vapor. So that is why we combined it and we measure it together, and that is why we call it evapotranspiration. Okay. Now from this figure also you can understand this evapotranspiration concept. Okay. See, from these trees and grasses the water lost due to transpiration. Okay. And from this land, or if there is any water body, the water lost due to evaporation. Okay. And when we add this transpiration term and this evaporation term, we will have this evapotranspiration. Okay. So the basic concept is, from this evaporation and this transpiration, the water lost into the atmosphere by vapor. So it is very difficult to calculate this evaporation and transpiration individually, and it is not feasible also, okay, to calculate this transpiration and evaporation individually. That is why in irrigation engineering and in hydrological analysis we take this transpiration and evaporation under one head, which is called evapotranspiration. Okay. So this is a basic discussion about evapotranspiration. We will discuss this evapotranspiration in a detailed manner in the next video lecture. Okay. Till then, stay safe and stay happy. Thank you.